Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm Marine and this is Dex Crochets. So today's tutorial is going to be about this crochet vest or crochet crop top, whatever you want to call it, but it has texture, yeah, and it is meant for left-handed people, but also right-handed people can redo it as long as you follow the instructions, just going into the opposite direction. So it's for everybody, but this time I made it for left-handed people because I'm left-handed myself. This is how it looks like, and let's jump into the tutorial right away. Okay, let's dive into the tutorial. So this is the back of the vest or the top. You begin by making that rectangle, then mark off there, then mark off right there, then continue like that, and then continue like that. This is how it comes, like that's the whole back part. And then for the front part, you're going to make that same rectangle beginning from down, come crochet, then mark off right here, crochet up that point, then crochet those two remaining parts, then attach your ribbing right there, ribbing right there, then the one in the middle, yeah, the middle, sorry, the neck, the collar ribbing, I should call it collar ribbing. So let's measure and see how much we get. And remember, for this vest, you begin by measuring from one shoulder to the other. I say 17, so if you're like 17, you're going to crochet up to minus 2 inches. So this is, it shows 14, but trust me, it is 15 inches. And remember, it can stretch to accommodate me who has, like, my shoulder is 17 inches, so this is pretty enough, but I made a chain of up to 15 inches, so it remains 15 inches. And because at that point we don't decrease, then from that point it has to be 10 inches. I don't know why it's like that, but trust me when I say it has to be 10 inches, but of course things do stretch. But it is 10 inches from there. And then, yeah, after that part, you can have a look. 11, it has to be 10, but of course it can stretch to 11 or up to 12 depending on the type of yarn that you use. So it comes out 11, so it's okay to do 11. And at that point it has to be 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches this side, leaving 4 inches in the middle. And in length it has to be 13 actually. So let's first measure. This is almost half an inch, the arms ribbing, almost half an inch, the shoulder ribbing. And then this one had to be 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, the lower ribbing. And then when you turn at the back, the whole project is measuring up to 11 inches, but it can stretch up to 13 inches. See right there, can stretch up to 13 inches. So yeah, this is what we have. This is how it looks like. This is what we're going to be doing. This is the back. This is how the back of your project should look like that. Beginning from that, make that rectangle, add on that part, back part is done. Front part, make that same rectangle beginning from the lower part, make that, mark off here up to this side, crochet going upwards up to around this side, then mark off here, mark off that point right here, mark off here, then continue crocheting up to the top, mark off here, continue crocheting up to the top. Then after, you're going to join your work. You can see and after joining off your work at the top right here, remember when you're joining, the wrong side should be facing you. Join right here, join right here, and then after you can add on this ribbing, add on that ribbing, and then add on that neckline ribbing, and then your vest is completely done. So yeah, this was a quick guide for somebody who already knows how to do the stitches. Yeah, so now you know what to do, and for one who doesn't, see through the tutorial, because that's what we're going on to. And my neckline was 4 inches, don't forget that. So we are going to be making something that looks exactly like this one, beginning from down. Yeah, so the first thing we are going to make is this back part, but remember, for the back part and the front part, it all begins with that same rectangle. So this is my front part, but I'm going to show you a tutorial for the back part. So first we are going to make something like this for both the back part and the front part. Yeah, so this is what we have. We are going to make something like this. You're going to measure from one shoulder to the other shoulder, and the inches you come up with, you're going to subtract 2 inches. So I measured 17 inches and I subtracted 2 inches to make 15 inches. So you're going to do the same. Then I'll make 3 rows. Then after 3 rows, I'll attach on the body of the vest. So make a slip knot. I'm using 2 strands because my yarn is pretty small. So chain in multiples of 2, then plus 1. So I'm in the chain of 14 plus 1, making it a chain of 15. So also you can, this is just for demonstration, but make sure you make yours that's long enough to cover the inches of from one shoulder to the other shoulder. So go into the second chain from the hook with a single crochet, then go into the third chain from the hook again with a single crochet, and then we are going to insert half double crochet into that same stitch, the third stitch. Go into it again. Remember, we've already pressed the single crochet, so you're going to place the half double crochet. After that, you're going to skip one stitch and one chain actually, and go to the next. Place a single crochet followed by a half double crochet. Skip the next chain, go into the following one with a single crochet, and then inserting half double crochet into the same chain. So you're going to do this up to the end of the chain. Skip, go into the next single crochet, insert another half double crochet, skip, go into the next single crochet, insert a half double crochet, go into the next single crochet, again half double crochet. And you have to make sure that when you skip again, you're going to be remaining with only one chain, and into that chain you're going to place a single crochet, one single crochet, place one single crochet into that last chain. So yeah, if you have more, you can just kill them off. So after that, you're going to make a chain of 1 and then turn your work for row 2. So row 1 is done. Now this is row 2. For row 2, go into that first stitch with a single crochet, go into the following stitch, you're going to insert a single crochet and a half double crochet, followed by a half double crochet. Skip the following stitch and go into the next stitch with a single crochet, and then insert a half double crochet into the same stitch. Skip the next stitch and go into the following stitch with a single crochet, followed by a half double crochet into the same stitch. So you're simply going to follow this pattern up to the end of the row. So this is what you have going to that last with one single crochet. Into the last stitch, just place one single crochet, chain 1, then turn your work. Row 3, repeat row 2. For row 3, just repeat row 2. Yep. Place half double crochet again. Don't forget, when you're beginning a new row, you have to begin off with one single crochet, and then without skipping a stitch, you go into the following one with a single crochet followed by a half double crochet into the same stitch. Then after that you can begin skipping. So you're going to repeat this up to the end of row 3. And for my bottom ribbing, I only made 3 rows because there was enough. But if you want it a little bigger, you can add on more rows, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 according to what you want. But you have to make sure that you're ending off your row with one single crochet. But since I'm going to attach my other yarn, I'll leave it like at this point. Attach my other yarn, and I'm going to be using single strand for the body of my vest or top. As I've shown you, pull up a loop, don't finish off the single crochet, introduce your other yarn. You're going to attach your yarn, and after that you're going to make a chain of 1, and then you can turn your work. At this point you can easily cut off your previous yarn, it's really okay. Make a chain of 1 and then turn your work. So we are going to begin inserting the bean stitches. The stitch I use called the bean stitch. Insert, pull up a loop, that's once, yarn over, insert again, pull up a loop, that's twice, yarn over, insert again, pull up a loop, and those are 3 times. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. When you have 6 loops on your hook, pull through all the 6 loops on your hook and then make a chain of 1. So we are supposed to be skipping, but I won't because I want my work to be even. So just go into the next stitch without skipping. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Those are 3 times. 6 loops on your hook, pull through all 6, then make a chain of 1. So at this point we are going to begin skipping. 2 and 3. Yarn over, pull through all 6, then make a chain of 1. Skip the following stitch, go into the following stitch. 2 and 3. So this is what we're going to do up to the end of the chain. No, up to the end of the row. Yeah. So this is what you're going to do up to the end of the row. Continue doing that. 1 stitch left. Just insert. Make sure you have 6 loops on your hook, and you can only achieve that by going into that stitch 3 times. So this is what it looks like. I remember I'm using 1 strand because if there are 2 strands it's going to be a little bit bulky. So go into this. Like there's this space that is immediately after the bean stitch, and then there's this chain 1 space. We don't insert anything into the chain 1 space, but rather just go into that space that is immediately after the bean stitch with another bean stitch. Go into the next, place a bean stitch. I've already showed you how to place a bean stitch. Simply need to go into it 3 times, twice and thrice. 6 loops on your hook, pull through all 6, make a chain of 1, go into the next. So we are simply going to be crocheting into that space that is immediately after the bean stitch. Yeah, that's what we are going to be doing all throughout. Go into the next. 3, pull through all 6, then make a chain of 1, then continue doing that. Pull through all 6, chain 1. We are going to go into the last stitch. There is that stitch right there, you can clearly see it. Go into it with another bean stitch. 1, 2 and 3. Pull through all 6. Sorry about that. Pull through all 6 and then make a chain of 1. Then you can turn your work. So So I'm going to repeat this one more time. Go into that immediately after that bean stitch with another bean stitch, go into the next with another bean stitch, and I'm going to do this up to the end of row 3. So after, you can only repeat row 3. Yep. So yeah, coming to the end of row 3, I'm going to place my second last bean stitch, and then this is going to be the last bean stitch. So after placing your last bean stitch, you're going to repeat row 2, or row 3. So you're going to repeat row 3 up to when you come up with 10 more rows. With that, you'll be having, your work will be 15 inches wide and 4 inches long. Like, it has to look like this one. And if you want your crochet vest not to be cropped, you can add on more rows and make it longer than 4 inches, maybe up to like 6 inches or 7 inches. So this is 15 inches long. Remember, it can shrink and it can stretch. So this is 15 inches long, and it is 4 inches, sorry, this is 15 inches wide, and it is 4 inches long. But remember, it can shrink and it can stretch. So that's 4 inches long and 15 inches wide. But if you don't want your crochet verse not to be so cropped, you can go on and add on more rows. So for this particular part, I made 3 rows of the lower ribbing and 10 rows of bean stitches to come up with 4 inches long and then 15 inches wide. So for the back part, you can see that it like goes inside and then continues to grow taller. With that, I made sure that I removed like 2 inches. I decreased by 2 inches inwards. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You're going to decrease by 2 inches inwards, mark off 2 inches inwards, and then mark off 2 inches inwards on the right side too. And this is the exact same thing that you're going to do for the front part too. Only that for the front part, you want to finish up to the last. Yep, so 2 inches and 2 inches this side. I'm going to show you, but remember, I chained coming the other side, so I have to first, when I'm again attaching my yarn, I have to make sure that stitching coming from the left going to the right. So this is what I have. I'm going to measure up to 2 inches inwards, and then I'm going to place my stitch marker. I'm going to place it in that exact same spot where I've been placing my bean stitches, and then I'm going to come to the right side of the vest. Yeah, this is it, a vest. Then I'm going to measure off 2 inches still, and then I'm going to place my stitch marker, and still I'm going to place it in the exact same spot where I've been placing the bean stitches, right there, and not in the chain one space. So after doing that, I'm going to grab my yarn. You see, I've already marked off 2 inches. I'm going to grab my yarn, and then I'm going to attach my yarn to my work. So you can remove the stitch marker, and after removing the stitch marker, insert your hook, still using a 4mm hook. Insert your hook, make a slip knot, that's how you attach. And I'm not going to chain, you can see. I'm just going to go in there with a bean stitch, 2 and then 3. So I have 6 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 6, make a chain of 1. So you know the drill. Go into the space that is immediately after the bean stitch. Go into it with and pull up 3 loops, which makes it 6 loops on your hook. Go into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, make a chain, pull up a loop, and I'm going to repeat this up to the part where I placed my stitch marker. Coming to the point where I place my stitch marker, we are 1 bean stitch away from that point. Place your bean stitch in here, your second last bean stitch, and then I'm going to remove my stitch marker and I'm going to place my last bean stitch into that space. Place your last bean stitch. Remember, you're supposed to be having 6 loops on your hook, then you can pull through all 6 and then you chain 1, turn your work. So we consider this row 12. Go make another bean stitch. It's basically going to be rows of bean stitches, and you are going to repeat row 12 until you come up with a desirable length for your vest. Continue doing that. Up to the place where we first started off our bean stitches, right here at this point right here. Coming to that point, we are going to place our last bean stitch into that part, into that stitch I should say. Last bean stitch, chain 1, turn your work for row 13. So you're going to repeat row 12 until when you come up with something like this, exactly like this one. And this is going to be our back part, so it's measure. The lower part should be, remember we started off with 15, but remember the work can shrink, but that it is supposed to be 15 inches. 15 inches up to this point, and then from here you mark off 2 inches from both sides, and then it should give you 10 inches, but remember it can stretch up to 12. So yeah, if it's giving you 10 inches, that is completely okay. So you continue building up until you come up with 8 inches. So, but remember it can stretch, so if you have around 9 inches it is okay. If you have 8 inches it is also perfectly fine, but altogether your work should be 13 inches long. So you're going to continue increasing until you come up with 8 inches, and yeah, but after that your back part will be done. And for the front part, I'm going to continue doing the same thing, just simply increasing up to around this point. So for the front part I'll increase up to this point, and I want to increase up to 8 inches like the back part. So this is what we have, this is the back part, and then I'm done increasing for the front part, and this is what I have for the front part. You see, it is the exact same thing, only that for the front part you don't go up to 8 inches, you stop at around this point, and you'll be having 3 inches remaining. So for the front part you'll increase up to 5 inches, and for the back part you increase up to 8 inches. After that, you can see this is what we have, and remember I'm going to count 3 inches inwards, and then I'll place my stitch marker, and then also this side I'm going to count 3 inches inwards, and then I'll place my stitch marker. Measure 3 inches inwards and then place your stitch marker inside. Yep, so this is what I have, and remember we counted 3 inches are remaining to come up with 8 inches, so I'm going to increase onto these sides until I come up with 3 inches, and then I'll also increase this side to come up with 3 inches, so that I can be having a total of 8 inches in front of increase and a total of 8 inches of increase for the back part. So this is what I have. You can see, I'll show you. Of course, it is 3 inches remaining to come up with 8 inches. Same applies to the right side of the vest. So I'm going to continue increasing 3 inches, 3 inches. Yep, and then we shall be having even parts for the front part and then for the back part of the vest. So this is what we have. Remember, we have already marked off where we are supposed to be stopping, so continue doing the same thing like you've been doing. I didn't detach my yarn, so you just continue placing your bean stitches wherever they're supposed to be placed up to the point where you placed your stitch marker. So now you can remove your stitch marker, and then you're going to place your last bean stitch right there. You won't continue placing more bean stitches, but you're rather just going to turn your work for a new row. Turn your work, continue placing another bean stitch row. So we are going to be adding more rows until we have increased up to the 3 inches that are remaining to come up with 8 inches in total. So this is what I have. I'm going to place my last bean stitch for this row, chain 1 and then turn your work. Again, place another row of bean stitch. So you're going to keep placing more rows until you come up with 3 inches of increase. So in total it should be 8 inches of increase. So you're going to do that until when you come up with that amount of inches. Remember, only 3 rows are missing for us to come up with 8 inches like the back part. So continue placing continue adding on rows until you come up with 3 inches. So I'm done. I made sure that, so for my case, I had to add on more 8 rows to come up with 3 inches, that 3 missing inches. So the total of this is 8 inches of increase. So after that, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and then cut off my yarn. Cut off the yarn, pull up the loop, pull up the loop. So I'm going to be repeating this exact same thing onto this side. So you see, you're going to turn your work and make sure that you crochet from the left going to the right. Remember, I'm left-handed, so this is a left-handed tutorial. Yep, so if you're right-handed, you can crochet going from the right going to the left. So again, attach your yarn. Remember, I'm not chaining, but you can chain if you want, but I'm not chaining. So go into that very first space from the bean stitch with another bean stitch immediately, and then go into the next space that's next to the bean stitch with another bean stitch. I've already showed you how to place your bean stitches, so simply continue placing your bean stitches up to the end of the row. We are going to repeat this exact same thing onto the other side. So this is the work I have done increasing. So this is the back part and this is the front part. You can see the V, the front part, and then this is the back part. This is how it looks like. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to be attaching we are going to begin stitching the work together, and we are going to begin stitching the front parts together like this together, and then this side together. But one thing you should know is that when you're stitching your work, you have to make sure that the wrong side of the top is facing you and the right side of the top, the one that you want people to see, is inside. So this is what I have. Yep, done setting my work. I'm going to begin stitching it together. Yeah, you could use a darning needle if you want, but I'm going to be using the single crochet method. Yep, so I'm going to place my stitch marker onto these points right here because I want this to be perfectly even. So yeah, arrange your work together, and then I'm going to begin stitching it together. It's really simple. Just place your go into 2 stitches at a time, the one at the back and the one in the front at the same time, then do a single crochet, just like how I'm doing it in the tutorial. And don't forget, if you have any question, any suggestions, or just a comment, just place it in the comment section down below, and I'll be glad to get back to you in case there's something you don't clearly understand. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button, yeah, and the notification bell, just in case I post, you can be easily notified and check it out. So I'm coming to the end of my stitching together. You can now remove your stitch marker and continue stitching your work together. After that, I'm going to make a chain of 1, then cut my yarn. And after cutting the yarn, you can now pull out the loop. Yep. So I'm going to repeat the same thing onto this side, like the exact same way I've done it on the right side. I'm going to repeat it on the left side. So when you're done putting that, the work should look as neat as this. You see? Okay, so I'm going to go on and repeat the same thing onto the other side. And now we are done. I'm going to show you how to stitch the sides together. So for the sides, you're only going to stitch the part where we did not go inside by 2 inches. We're only going to stitch this the rectangle part together, the rectangle side together. So don't forget, when you're stitching your work together, the wrong side should be facing you and the right side should be the one inside. So this is what I have. It is pretty simple, only that you are going to need to make sure that you use the white yarn where the white is, and then you use the gold yarn where the gold is. Like, you have to make sure that you be able to change the colors when you're stitching the work together. You wouldn't want the gold to protrude through the white if you use it throughout. You see, I'm going to stitch my work up to that white point where I place my stitch marker. But first you're going to attach your yarn, and after attaching your yarn, you're going to continue stitching the work together using the single crochet method. And if you are using the darning needle, I think that is more simple actually. So continue doing that up to the point where the whites begin. So we are coming close to the point where the white starts off from. So continue. I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and at this point I'm going to attach my white yarn. If you want, you could simply continue using the gold color or any color that you're using. It's really okay. But for my case, if it's white, you wouldn't want to use another color to attach white together, because most cases it's gonna show and the work doesn't look neat that way. So continue using the white up to the point where you placed your last stitch marker. Continue stitching your work together up to that point. make a chain of 1, then you can cut off your yarn and then pull up the loop. So let's see what we have. Or you can also cut off the yarn this side. So when you turn your work, it should look like this. It should look like that. Yeah, so this is the right side of our vest. You can see how it looks like. This is the front part of our vest. And this is how it looks like. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to be attaching the, should I call it the arms ribbing? I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is what you have. So I'm going to attach my yarn. I'm again going to be using 2 strands at a time. Attach your yarn, and then I'm going to be placing 1 single crochet. I'm going to repeat the exact same pattern like the row ribbing. So going to the next stitch with a single crochet followed by a half double crochet into that same stitch. You can skip a stitch, or you have to skip a stitch actually. Going to the next, but for this point I'm going to be stitching into the exact same point where we've been placing our pin stitches. So continue doing that. Place another half double crochet, go into that same space. You can see it, though the space won't last for long, but you still have to find where to skip and where to place the single crochet and the half double crochet. So for this part I'm going to go into that single crochet, insert another half double crochet into that same stitch. So look for where you're going to skip. This is what I have. So I'm going to be placing my stitches immediately after the pin stitch. Skip the pin stitch, go into the next chain 1 space, skip the pin stitch, go into the next space, place your single crochet followed by half double crochet, skip the next pin stitch, go into the next stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, skip the next pin stitch, and I'm going to repeat this pattern up to when, and then I'll meet you at the beginning point where we join the work together. So yeah, I'm going to continue all around and I'll meet you at this point. So coming to the end, continue placing your single crochet, half double crochet. Now we are simply going to join the work together with a slip knot, and then after I'm going to make a chain of 1, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch with a single crochet, and after that you can see I'm still going to go around. So yeah, go into the next stitch with a single crochet followed by a half double crochet, skip, go into the next. So remember we are placing our stitches on top of a double crochet, so skip the single crochet, go to the next double crochet. Just don't forget that you are placing these stitches on top of every half double crochet, so single crochet followed by half double crochet into that same stitch, same stitch. So I'm going to be repeating this pattern all around, and then I'll meet you at this point where we started off from. So coming to the end, continue single crochet followed by half double crochet, followed by half double crochet. Then I'm going to just join my work together with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to make a chain of 1, and now you can cut off your yarn, pull up the loop, and now we are going to repeat this exact same thing onto the right side of the vest. You can see it's forming up pretty good, and that is the pattern. You can look at the pattern, pretty good too. So I'm going to repeat this exact same thing onto the other side, this onto this side, and I'll meet you when I am done then for the simple collar ribbing. So we are done, and now we are only remaining with, already placed that, you can see. Now only remaining to place the collar, like collar ribbing or the neckline. So go at the back of your top and look for where you're going to place your yarn. Yep, I'm going to place my yarn, and for this case I decided to place it on top of a chain one space. So make a chain of one or a slip stitch, then continue with chain one. But you can notice that I'm using single strand for the collar, for the neckline or the collar ribbing. So continue doing that, and where you cannot find where to skip exactly, just make sure that you find where to skip and where to place the single crochet and the half double crochet. Like for this, we're just simply going to repeat this pattern. So for this case, I'm going to find where to place my next single crochet, followed by half double crochet in the same stitch. So I'm going to skip the pin stitch and place my single crochet, half double crochet in the next slip stitch, skip the pin stitch, place single crochet, half double crochet, skip the pin stitch, place. So this is what I'm going to basically be doing up to the end, all around, sorry, and I'm at this point. Place your single crochet followed by half double crochet, followed by half double crochet, and then after you can slip stitch your work. That is round one is done. So for the next thing, continue placing your single crochet, half double crochet. I don't know why I slip stitched, but it is supposed to be single crochet, half double crochet. So just place your stitch marker so that you don't forget where we started off from. Continue placing your single crochet. It is supposed to be single crochet and half double crochet, so don't make this a mistake of slip stitching unless you're joining the round. So continue doing that all around, and then I'll meet you at this point. So this is what I have. Place your hook. This is the last round. I made 2 rounds for the neckline, 2 rounds for the arms ribbing, and then 3 rows for the lower ribbing, both front and back. I made 3 rows. So yeah, time to cut off our yarn. So row 2 is done. You simply need to slip stitch your round, make a chain of 1, then cut your yarn and then pull out the loop. So this is what we have. You can see that on the left side I was a little bit tighter than the right side, but that happens. So I hope you don't repeat the same mistake. So you are supposed to be having something like this. At this point your work is done, and all that is remaining is making sure that you make the excess yarn disappear. That is by weaving them in, or just tying it together and then cutting it off, or by weaving it in and then cutting off the excess yarn. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll be showing you my work. This is how it looks like. So So in case you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget it is meant for left-handed people, but also a right-handed person can use it. Just follow the instructions. So don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. Thanks for watching and bye. Happy crocheting.